Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Strength and Hormones podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Papanos, and today I'm joined by Sebastian Lagree. I am so excited to have him on the podcast because I've talked a lot about my love for Lagree, and I'm even certified in Lagree, and I want to talk a little bit more about the science. You know that we always are talking about the science behind food as medicine and about how our body works, and I know a lot of you love Lagree and want to know why it's such an effective workout. So I brought the man here to tell us all of the science about Lagree. So thank you so much, Sebastian.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you. And then thank you for driving in this horrible weather today. She drove an hour and a half in this fucking raining cats and dogs here. So thank you.
It was a wild ride, but we got here safely. So tell us just a little bit of an introduction to you and how Lagree came to be.
You know, it's how long do we have? Because it's a long story, guys, because it was never supposed to be. You know, I came here to Los Angeles to pursue a career in acting. You know, I was bodybuilding at the time, and basically I needed to make money, so I decided to go into personal training to support my acting ambitions. And then through the personal training, I quickly found out or landed into a Pilates studio, and then basically struck out a deal with the owner because he knew that I knew my stuff for the bodybuilding, for the exercise. So I'm like, okay, you definitely know about, movements and anatomy. So I think you'll make a good Pilates, teacher. I had never heard of the word Pilates, and then at the time I was 25 years old and I had read so many books and so many research on weightlifting, nutrition, everything. Pilates simply never ever came up. So I was surprised to hear that this thing in LA was so really big. I remember it's 1998, okay? And Pilates was the big thing. So anyway, we struck a deal, and he allows me to train my clients because at the time I didn't have any certificates, which was a big deal. You couldn't take just anyone. I couldn't take you and train you at the gym. I need to be certified in personal training, whatever that is. So he allowed me to take my clients over there, and he told me in return, you're going to teach my clients in Pilates. So that's how the whole thing began. And then me, I'm a constant tweaker, and I hate inefficiencies. When I see something that is not working, it drives me crazy, especially if we have a solution for it. So, I taught Pilates, and I noticed a lot of things that were just not really working. And as a matter of fact, all the clients that he was giving me were going to the gym after the workout. So that drove me absolutely crazy. So I'm like, why are you guys working out after the session? Well, basically it's what I preach today, where we're not shaking, we're not sweating, we're not getting sore from the workout. I'm doing it because all the celebrities are doing it. They're all, glorifying Pilates. But to be honest with you, it feels great on my body, but I'm not seeing the result. I don't feel like I'm working hard enough to get the results. When I say this, and I'm going to piss off a lot of Pilates instructors right now, and I apologize, but this is 1998. No one yet modified the Pilates method, or no one dared to use a reformer a different way, the way I did. In 2024, oh my God, you'd be very lucky in Los Angeles to find a few studios who are actually still teaching the Pilates method. I've completely single-handedly changed the course of Pilates because once I started to teach my version of Pilates, what people called it, which has nothing to do with Pilates, it caught on. When people start to find out that, you can sweat, you can just, you can basically get an intense workout that is not hard on the joints, it just took off from there. So now a lot of people want to do what I'm doing, and they want to integrate or adapt or incorporate the Lagree on the machine. So Pilates today is taught very differently. People have different names for it now. They have progressive Pilates, high intensity Pilates. What's another one? Power Pilates and things like that, right? Or modern Pilates. There's no such thing. They're all adaptation of Lagree because these instructors have realized that that's what the clientele wants. So that's kind of how it began. But I didn't come here to Los Angeles and with this master plan of, creating this fitness, culture or whatever. It's just like, I need to make money. I understand about the body. People came to me to improve their conditions. And then in this case, it was women, and women didn't want to, back in 1998, they didn't want to lift weight because they thought that weight was going to bulk them up. And especially the women that I trained, because I basically trained a lot of models and actresses. Mm-hmm. So they were like, for example, your size. Mm-hmm. They have a wardrobe for your size. If I get you big shoulder, big neck, you'd be like fired for your job, right? So I had to work with very strict conditions, very specific conditions. And then the tool was the reformer. The tool was the Pilates equipment, because these women would not go and train in a weight room because they thought if they even look at a dumbbell, they would get, bigger thighs, which now basically, also this is a thing, because back in 98, the ideal body was very different than it is today. Today, women are not worried about getting more muscular and all that stuff. So it was very different back then. But the women didn't want to touch the weight, but they felt, Pilates, if I'm on a Pilates machine, I'm not going to get thicker muscles. I'm going to get long, lean muscle, because that's the way it was advertised. This is what the celebrities were all pushing and preaching and promoting. You do Pilates, you can get lean, long muscles. No. Okay, it's a total, and then so anyways, it's a whole other story on its own. So that's kind of how the method started. And when I started to, when I started to tweak the method and basically do my own workout on using the Pilates equipment, it just, one thing led to another. Once I started to do this method, everything was basically just happening organically and evolving organically. And then fast forward 25 years, and now we have almost 700 studios worldwide. And, we were named #1 workout before COVID hit. We're expanding everywhere, and it's been an amazing journey. So, and of course, no acting gig.
Well, it turned out to be something even far greater, I'm sure,
Absolutely,
than you could have ever
yes.
imagined with acting.
I absolutely love my life, and I'm very happy that I went that direction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're truly a genius in the method that you've created, and I feel like every time I go onto the Lagree website, there's always a new machine. So yes. I don't know if you ever sleep, but I think you're always creating.
I can't help myself, because I tell you why. Because as soon as I have a new machine, and I'm able to try like a new concept or like a new idea, because I teach every Sunday, guys. If you want to take my classes, whenever I'm in Los Angeles, I call Los Angeles my interval time, my surface interval time. I'm here for a few weeks, so I teach every Sunday at the studio, Brentwood, the Mega Former Studio in Brentwood, and I always try new stuff. And then also when I have, for example, a new feature on the machine, I love to see how it works and how other people are using it. And by teaching these classes, it really helps me to keep the creative juices going,
Yeah.
So if I don't teach, it's hard for me to conceptualize new features, new method, new training techniques. But when I teach, it's very easy for me to simulate as I'm teaching. Okay, if I had this machine, or if I had this feature right now, and I was teaching this exercise or this sequence of exercise, how would that basically affect the workout? And I'm able to run the simulation when I'm actually teaching the class. So for me, teaching, sometimes people think, oh, well, you're teaching a very specific, you're teaching the same routine, week after week. First of all, it's not the same routine, because I change, add variations, I tweak a few things. But what people don't understand, I'm actually halfway there when I teach a class. The other part of my brain is actually running a simulation, because I have new features, especially right now, because we're basically digitizing the method, right? So we're going from analog machine to digital machine. So when I add the electronics to the equipment, it's got to work, and then I had to also anticipate how everything's going to be used. So I'm running all these potential contingencies in my brain as I'm teaching. So for me, teaching is a very it's probably the most important point of me running the business, actually.
Yeah, no, it's important. And I told you before we started that I went to one of your live events, and it was the hardest Lagree workout I've ever done. So
I love these live events. These are the best.
Okay, so tell us a little bit, for those that aren't familiar with Lagree, what is a Lagree Fitness workout? Can you just break down like the core components of it?
Yeah, I always break it the trifecta effect. So Lagree is a muscular endurance workout. It's also a muscular strengthening workout, and it's a core workout. If you can retain two things, it's endurance, strength, and core always. And and the benefit is you're gonna strengthen your muscles, but instead of building thick muscle fibers like bodybuilding would, you're actually building tight muscle fibers, because that's what the clientele wants. Okay, I have nothing against workout that thicken the muscle fibers, because I love bodybuilding myself, so I'm all about that. But the workout that I design, okay, it's very important, because people sometimes criticize me because I don't do my own workout. I don't want to do that workout. I want to get a bigger chest, bigger shoulders, a bigger biceps. I'm 50. I I tremendously enjoy putting muscle on, and I always, try new stuff. And then also when I have, for example, a new feature on the machine, I love to see how it works and how other people are using it. And by teaching these classes, it really helps me to keep the creative juices going.
Yeah.
So if I don't teach, it's hard for me to conceptualize new features, new method, new training techniques. But when I teach, it's very easy for me to simulate as I'm teaching. Okay, if I had this machine, or if I had this feature right now, and I was teaching this exercise or this sequence of exercise, how would that basically affect the workout? And I'm able to run the simulation when I'm actually teaching the class. So for me, teaching, sometimes people think, oh, well, you're teaching a very specific, you're teaching the same routine, week after week. First of all, it's not the same routine because I change, add variations, I tweak a few things. But what people don't understand, I'm actually halfway there when I teach a class. The other part of my brain is actually running a simulation because I have new features, especially right now because we're basically digitizing the method, right? So we're going from analog machine to digital machine. So when I add the electronics to the equipment, it's got to work. And then I have to also anticipate how everything's going to be used. So I'm running all these potential contingencies in my brain as I'm teaching. So for me, teaching is a very, it's probably the most important point of me running the business, actually.
Yeah, no, it's important. And I told you before we started that I went to one of your live events, and it was the hardest Lagree workout I've ever done. So
I love these live events. These are the best. Did we have the drummers or no?
Yeah. It was the San Diego one. It was last year in January.
Nice.
Yeah. It was awesome.
I love it when we have the DJs and the drummers. It's just like it brings you into the zone. It's perfect.
Yeah, they were right in my face yelling at me.
You're welcome. Yes, that's what we do.
It was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was great. Okay, so tell us a little bit, for those that aren't familiar with Lagree, what is a Lagree Fitness workout? Can you just break down like the core components of it?
Yeah, I always break it the trifecta effect. So Lagree is a muscular endurance workout. It's also a muscular strengthening workout, and it's a core workout. If you can retain two things, it's endurance, strength, and core always. And and the benefit is you're gonna strengthen your muscles, but instead of building thick muscle fibers like bodybuilding would, you're actually building tight muscle fibers because that's what the clientele wants. Okay, I have nothing against workout that thicken the muscle fibers because I love bodybuilding myself, so I'm all about that. But the workout that I design, okay, it's very important because people sometimes criticize me because I don't do my own workout. I don't want to do that workout. I want to get a bigger chest, bigger shoulders, a bigger biceps. I'm 50. I tremendously enjoy putting muscle on, and I've also, in my gym over here, you'll see I have like my own equipment. I don't work out on normal equipment. I'm known for the Megaformer and the Micro and all that stuff, but I have also other machines that I've actually designed. I have not patented those ones yet because I'm still, working on these things. But that's what I do. So my workout is very different than the people I teach, because the people I teach don't want bigger muscles. They don't want thick muscles because you can't fit in the designer suit. Having a more muscular body requires more maintenance. You need to eat more, you need to work out more, and so on, right? So this workout that I designed is very specific. So you're going to get stronger, you're going to get tighter, you're going to get toner. This is basically a workout that is very similar to rock climbing. So the benefit you will get from Lagree are very similar from rock climbing. Because in rock climbing, people have to use their whole body to go up, and it's literally hours on end, right? So you're going to use your shoulders and your triceps and your biceps and your legs and your thighs, and you have to use the entire body on this rock. Otherwise, you're going to, lose your grip and fall off. And that's exactly the same thing that we do in Lagree. It's that muscular endurance, constantly reworking the same muscles, a lot of isometric contraction, just like you do in rock climbing. And when you look at rock climbers are incredibly strong. They're like ants. They can lift their body 2 or 3 times over. Okay, they're incredibly light, incredibly agile, and then they have this. They're not like they don't look like mini bodybuilders, but they're strong. They're strong everywhere, especially in the connections. And that's exactly what Lagree does. I cannot find another sport that really emulate what Lagree does better than rock climbing. So it's pretty much like that. Yeah. And then so doesn't mean that Lagree is it's only for all climbers. It's just going to give you that look. It's going to give you that kind of strength. So in Lagree, you're not going to develop the power lifting strength. You're not going to go to the gym and all of a sudden lift 1,000 pounds on a deadlift, or 500 pounds on the bench press. But what Lagree will do for all those people who want to power lift, who want to deadlift, who want to lift an incredible amount of weight, because I recognize, I sympathize with that. I love lifting heavy weight, right? What Lagree will do, it will give you the support in the connective tissues, because the strength, power, reflex, all this stuff, it's all in the connective tissue. Everything's in connective tissue. Some people focus a lot on the muscular strength in the muscle itself. I focus on the movement, because the movement integrates both the muscles and the connective tissues. I think that, I think this is the one of the things that one of the buzzword of 2024 is low impact. So low impact training is something I've been promoting for the past 25 years. But in the past 3 years, more and more and more Americans are now seeking low impact workout. And I think now about 37 or 35% of all Americans last year were looking low impact. And this was the third year that low impact workout are on the rise, because I think that people finally understand that, listen, low impact doesn't mean it's boring. Okay. It doesn't mean that you're meditating on a machine and do breathing exercise. You can have a really intense workout like Lagree, but that is not going to cost you the joints health, or it's just going to cost you your connective tissue or your spine. So you can have intensity and low impact, And I would go a step further than low impact and say that Lagree is anti-inflammatory. You're learning how to work with the proper body alignment so that you actually don't squeeze the joints. You can actually strengthen the joints, and you can actually reduce inflammation that exercise can cause. That is the thing that I think that is very different. I know you asked me that question later about the difference between weightlifting and Lagree. In Lagree, when you lift the weight that I'm describing to do, you will see that, it causes no inflammation in the joints. So I say that if you teach Lagree the right way, not only it's a low impact workout, but it can be anti-inflammatory. So another way to describe Lagree: high intensity, low impact, anti-inflammatory.
I love it. And I'm a big proponent of inflammation, of anti-inflammatory everything, right? Because so much of us are dealing with inflammation.
Absolutely.
And it's the root of so many health problems.
Well, absolutely, yeah. It's a root of mental disease, mental illnesses. Everything happens in the guts, right? Yeah. So I think that anti-inflammatory food is going to be basically now the next wave in nutrition and things.
Sure.
More. Yeah. I'm looking for that too. I'm more interested in what's causing inflammation and so on. So,
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of both doing strength training and Lagree. And that's what I typically do is I typically do 2 or 3 days per week of either of them, right? Yes. Depending on the week. Absolutely. And I found that to really be a great sweet spot to where I feel like recovery is good. I'm not feeling sore all the time, but I'm getting the right amount of core. And there's just truly nothing, even with all of the core bracing you do with squats and deadlifts like I do, it doesn't quite build your core and create that really ripped core like Lagree does.
Oh yeah, it's all this Lagree is all core. As soon as you get that carriage going back and forth, you cannot not activate the core. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy on the core, I will say. So one of the things that Lagree is really big on, that you're big on, is tempo.
Yes.
And also, obviously, there's a lot of isometric movement.
Yes.
Can you talk about why those are so important to the effectiveness of the workout?
So for the tempo, it has not been proven yet. So I'm working at 2 universities right now, and we're running different tests on the appropriate speed. But I don't think there's an appropriate speed. We talk right now about frequencies, and at different frequency you attract different things. I think at different tempo you have different results. I've noticed at a tempo of 16, so a tempo of 16 is about 40 seconds on the way out. So it takes 40 seconds to push the carriage out, 40 seconds to bring the carriage in. So we talk about 1 minute and 20 seconds. I've noticed that the striation in the muscles, you can see more definition. It's such a super slow speed. By the way, I don't know anyone else on the planet who whose protocol is basically to actually teach slower and slower and slower. And then for you guys watching this right now, we don't start at a tempo of 16. We start at a tempo of 4 counts. 4 counts is about 8 to 10 seconds on the way out, 8 to 10 seconds on the way. And when you master that tempo, then you want to slowly and progressively slower the tempo. So you're going to go from a tempo of 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 to 12 to 16. And then, of course, the higher the tempo count, the slower the method. And I think that the speed really helps you to define like ultra tightness, And the same thing for the isometric contraction. The reason I like isometric contraction, I think it's a great way to strengthen the muscles without causing it to bulk up. So we're kind of staying away from the explosive movement. I don't know, the opposite of explosive movement is not implosive, but it's controlled movement and super slow control movement. And right now I'm creating a lot of electronic features to help people to basically guide them in the exercise and then to help them to go slower. And I think that once you start to get into the ultra slow speed, so when you do like a minute down, a minute up, if you do one repetition in 2 minutes, right? You do, let's say, a lunge or a squat, try it at home, or a push-up. It takes 60 seconds to go down, 60 seconds to come up. You're not going to be able to do that first. You're going to be very choppy. But very quickly, if you apply yourself, you're going to start seeing that it becomes easier and easier, and you can actually even go slower. But you're going to see the difference in your muscles. And I guarantee what people are going to notice, just more definition. They're going to just start to see the muscles just like coming out, and you start to see the muscle fibers, the striation just popping out. And that happens about a speed of 16.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing I notice whenever I'm in class is I see a lot of people going too quickly, right? And I'm like, I know that they would get such a better effectiveness at this if they were slowing down more.
Absolutely,
but it's hard. It's hard to do that. And especially when you're in movements where there's a lot of stability, it's like, you're scared.
Yeah,
maybe.
because So there's a lot of research that is done, on movement, but usually the research is done like on the floor.
Yeah.
On the Lagree's equipment, you're right. You have the carriage that is moving. So not only you have to go slow, but you also have to stabilize the carriage. So these are the whole element of nastiness or spiciness to the exercise, Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited for that. So, we talked a little bit about the difference between or the importance of strength training, resistance training. They're kind of interchangeable terms, right? But I want to talk a little bit more about the difference between if someone was to follow a traditional like bodybuilding type workout like you're mentioning versus they do Lagree.
Yes.
What are the differences here, both the similarities and then also where they differ from one another?
Sure. Well, both workouts, you have to work your muscles to fatigue, right? So you have to basically provide a trigger. You have to trigger the muscles to grow. If you keep doing the same sets, same way, the same amount of weight, your body is going to basically adapt to this, but there's not going to be any improvements, right? They'll just stay there. So if you want to improve your body, both in bodybuilding and Lagree, you have to work to fatigue. But the way you work to fatigue is very different in Lagree than in bodybuilding. In bodybuilding, you focus on fast, explosive movement. Why? Because when you look at your muscle fibers, when you look at the composition of, let's say, a muscle, you have different muscle fibers, and all in the length of the muscle, right? Some muscle fibers are thicker, some are thinner. So it's about like this, right? So you might have like my thumb over here will be a fast twitch because the fast twitch is packing more muscle fibers in the bundle. And then you have the slow twitch muscle fibers, which is basically noticeably thinner because that one doesn't give you a lot of energy because the fast twitch, the purpose of a fast twitch is to release a lot of energy all at once. And, maybe 10,000 or 100,000 years ago or a million years ago, whatever, that was very beneficial. You're going for a stroll in the plain and you're a hunter and gatherer, and then all of a sudden you have a big saber-toothed tiger, right behind you. You're going to be glad you have this fast twitch because you're going to get the fuck out of here as quickly as possible. You're going to run so fast your feet won't even touch the ground. Because I know that happened to me once in Africa. I got chased by a water buffalo, and I got to tell you, when you are chased, when your life depends on it, you run so fast. I mean, I ran through the bushes. I'm like, I'm not going to get flattened by this, water buffalo, but I'm going to get beaten by a cobra or whatever. But I was running so fast. I was literally not even touching the ground. I was not even breathing. That is the fast twitch. That's the purpose of the fast twitch. It's a flee, response. I get the fuck out of here, right? And on the other spectrum, you have the slow twitch muscle fibers. So, now I need to, gather. I'm going to walk, hours on. I need a muscle fiber that doesn't fail after 8 or 10 seconds, right? So this is going to give me less energy, but over a longer period of time. And that is the slow twitch muscle fibers, right? So the challenge is the slow twitch muscle fiber is essentially designed not to fatigue. So the challenge is, how do you fatigue a muscle fiber that is designed not to fatigue? Even like conventional weight training or weight machines can actually cause more harm than anything else, because they're built by people who don't fucking work out. That's the problem. They're built by people who don't work out, people who don't go to the gym, and they're built quickly. And I buy from reputable manufacturers. One machine I just bought right here was like $11,000, and I'm just going to cut it up and I'm going to rebuild from it, because it's actually cheaper for me to do this than make my own prototype. The prototype could be $100,000, right? Yeah. So I buy some of the machines and I just break them down and I rebuild them, the way I want it, the way I think the machine should be built. I've done this for every single thing. But why do I need to do it? If the CEO of that company just got on that machine, right away they'll say, oh my God, my lower back hurts when I do this one. Oh, my knee doesn't feel good. Oh, this is kind of a weird placement for the feet. Oh, I need a foot plate for here. I mean, it would be just the improvements are self-evident, but they don't do it. That drives me fucking nuts.
Yeah. Well, and I think that brings up a good point, in that a lot of women that I talk with, they feel like if they strength train too often, that they actually gain swelling, like inflammation, like they're kind of have more puffiness, yeah. Right? But with Lagree, and maybe you have some science you can provide as to why that happens, with Lagree, they don't seem to experience that quite as much.
That's because of the springs, because the spring eases the tension. You'll see that a lot of soreness. Sometimes there's just two types of soreness. You have the soreness you feel in the muscle itself, which is good, and then you have soreness around in the joints. It's not good. So in Lagree, what you're going to do is you're going to get the soreness in the belly of the muscle. Very rarely, maybe at the beginning, you might feel some soreness in the joints as well, because you haven't worked out in a while. Sure. But then after that, you'll feel the tightness really into the muscle itself. Very different. When you get sore, guys, and I say, okay, because right now I'm fucking sore from yesterday. I was in South Africa diving for 2 weeks. I got back, and I got to tell you, it's amazing, because I actually got back and I was stronger yesterday than I was when I first left. So I fucking love this. I love diving. Diving is fantastic. It's a fantastic diving is a fantastic therapy, because you get basically cryo and hyperbaric treatment. Yeah. Cryo, because some of that water was like 8 degrees Celsius. So fuck you, man. This is like fucking cold. like freezing underwater. Ice bath. So you get an ice bath for 55 fucking minutes. And on top of that, get the hyperbaric. But what I was going to say is this. And I'm sore all over, man. I'm just like, I can't fucking move today. But in Lagree, you really get the muscle right into the belly of the muscle, and it's not in the connective tissues. And that has to do, like I said, it has to do because of the springs. It also has to do because of the alignment that we do in the form. And it also has to do with the slow speed. And again, we go back to the tempo. I'm working now. It's funny because, I always, when people ask me, what's the difference between Pilates and Lagree? And I say, well, Lagree is a fitness workout. Pilates is more of a restorative. And actually, a lot of physical therapists are using Pilates as a form of therapy. Mm-hmm. But now I'm working with a lot of therapists who want to use Lagree as a form of therapy. And I'm like, I'm very glad that people see that Lagree is a very safe, routine, but I don't really want to promote it like this, because I don't want people to think, it's like Pilates. Like, no, I'm not going where Pilates is going, but Lagree is actually a very safe way of working out. Yeah. Listen, it's very simple. When I was 25 and I started to teach fitness, I was teaching fitness to a lot of most of my clientele were actually men, and a lot of these guys, 45, 50, 55, my age now, and crippled, could not fucking move. And that was from lifting weight. That was not because they were 45 or 50 or 55. It's because they had lift weight improperly for 30 years. So I saw myself in them, and I realized, oh my God, at 50, I want to be able to lift weight, but I don't want to have to go to the chiropractor 3 times a week and not turn my neck and have all these, conditions. And so ironically, I was studying Pilates at the same time, and I realized, okay, there's Pilates showed me there's different ways of moving. That I don't have to move like bodybuilders do in the paper. I can grow muscle differently. I'm doing it right now, doing my own version of bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean, you start losing muscle really at 30. You start to incrementally every year lose muscle. And I'm always preaching that. And it seems it's not a sexy conversation. People don't want to hear when they're in their 30s that they need to be thinking about how they're aging when they're 70.
Absolutely.
But it's the reality that's when you have to put in the inputs if you want to get the outputs when you're that age. Because once, especially for like older women, once hormones drop and you don't have that estrogen there, if we're talking about your bone, there's no way you're building bone density.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and one thing is that it's great to work out in your 20s, and then you think, well, 30s, getting married, getting settled, getting a family, all that stuff. You got to keep working out. It just doesn't stop. You have to find a way to keep working out. You have to keep the intensity up. That's the reason why I think a lot of people are aging so fast. They work out in the 20s, all the stuff. 30, they stop, and in 40s, everything goes down to shit. And then people say, well, it's normal. That's what happens. This is how I'm supposed to age. How everyone else around me is aging. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Everyone at work over here, I force all my coworkers to work out with me. And I got to tell you, they're all getting the same result I'm getting. I have everyone working around here with fucking biceps and shoulders and this and all the guys that I work with, because to me, it's absolutely adamant. And now they, in turn, are making it more priority at home.
Yeah.
So now they got the spouse, to get the kids more active. And that's exactly what I want. This is, you need this, not just, to look good and feel good, but just to think good. Your mind, your brain, your spirit depends so much on you being physically active. I can't even, it's so important. It's as important as breathing air, honestly, and it's a necessity.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, it really is. And you mentioned how Lagree can be a safer option or maybe lower impact for people that maybe have pre-existing injuries, have joint issues, things of that sort.
Yes. And then thank you, because another difference between bodybuilding and Lagree. So, and I love this about bodybuilding, right? Bodybuilding is about training in isolation. Mm-hmm. When you see guys with biceps are this huge, there's no function for the biceps, unless you're like a Viking or whatever, and but you don't need this biceps. I know it looks great. I fucking love those biceps too, right? So Lagree doesn't work in isolation; it works in integration. Mm-hmm. And so integration is very important because it keeps the balance between that muscles and every other muscles in your body. And that's so in Lagree, when you get strong, you get body strong, because basically when you do a bicep curl in Lagree, you also learn how to use your core and your legs. You actually use your entire body to do this one bicep curl. So it's very different, So bodybuilding, you train your body in isolation. You pick and choose the body part you want to work on. I think Arnold said it the best. You're a sculptor, and then you realize, I need more shoulders. I'll work on my shoulders until I get my shoulders big enough. And you look at your proportion, and you kind of decide where you want to put the mass in your body.
Sure.
But in Lagree, you don't do this. In Lagree, when you do your shoulders, you're also working your biceps, your triceps, your lats, your traps, your chest, because everything is attached to it.
Yeah.
So why not work these other elements as well? And that's how you create basically a workout where you reduce the inflammation, or maybe have no inflammation at all, because you're working with how nature basically engineered us, or whatever, right? Yeah. So you're working with the body that way. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying, and again, when I talk about bodybuilding, I love bodybuilding, but this is not what I do for. This is not the Lagree method, yeah. and I've made a very specific, conscious decision to have it this way, because to me, this is a healthier way. But on my spare time, I bodybuild. I still do these biceps and workout in isolation, sure, using specialized equipment, because I get a high from that. I've always liked that. I'm an introvert, so for me to put my headphone on and then to work out, and then just lose myself in an hour, it's golden,
Yeah, it's meditative.
It's meditative, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what I love about Lagree workouts too, is that I find that it's one of the few things that can get my mind to shut off, because I'm so focused on the tempo and slowing down and on balance that my mind can't think about the 14 emails that I need to send.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, that is going to be something, I have a Lagree Summit that is coming out next weekend. And that is one thing I'm going to talk about, is really the mental and also the spiritual benefit, of Lagree. Because you're right, when you have to do an exercise, let's say a lunge, and you do it super slow, and then you do it for 6, 7, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, right? You go beyond physical strength, right? That cramping, that muscle burning, you feel it within the first 12, 15 seconds. It's always there. And even athletes, when I train them, because I ask them, I say, don't you feel anything? Because an athlete can just do this exercise, never break, the form, and they'll do it for as long as they put the timing in the brain, and they're going to do it with a 15-minute lunge. All right, 15-minute lunge, and that's it. And they're not going to break the form. Most people are like, oh my God, after a minute, they're like, oh God, it's like, I'm cramping, all that stuff. That athlete is feeling the pain just as quickly as these other guys. But somehow they're able to just manage it and not let it disturb them. So in Lagree, you can actually turn your mind into an athlete mind, and you can actually start to work not only on that physical strength, but you can work on that inner strength. You can work on that mental toughness, on that willpower. You can actually develop the skills in Lagree that is going to build not just a better body, but a better life, a better relationship, a better career. I mean, it's just amazing. All the emails that I get from people is never about, oh my God, my ass is so great. And it's like, it's changed my life. It's changed my life. I made some changes. I've made a better career for it. I got another job, blah, blah, blah. People start to want to do better things for themselves, and they go after the things they want, because then they realize, like, you know what? It's the same thing. Whether you want to go after this, you have this big idea, or you have this business you want to start, or whatever, you want to move in this country or whatever, but you're kind of holding yourself back because you don't know if you have what it takes. But now you do that fucking 10-minute lunge, and in 10 minutes, you only need 8 repetitions. I'm telling you, you can do anything when you do this stuff. So you build on these skills, on these mental skills, and you are able to apply these mental skills that you develop for the workout to your life, to your career, to your relationship, and so on. And that's why, for me, everybody's going to listen to that podcast, you have to work out, because that is not only something that is happening in Lagree. In Lagree, I'm now specifically studying the mental benefit, and I'm adapting the method to get more of certain mental benefit than others. But this mindset that you're going to create for the workout, you'll create it if you play tennis, if you rock climb, if you bodybuild, if you do Pilates, if you do yoga, whatever. Exercise has such a positive impact on the way we think about ourselves. It's just fuck. If you're not working out, you're not even getting the juice out of life. Period. And so anyway.
No, it transforms your day. And that's why I always start every day with a workout, because it just changes the way that you function every
Absolutely.
day. So important. And I want to talk a little bit for women that are pregnant. What modifications first of all, is Lagree a safe workout for them?
Absolutely, yeah.
And is there any modifications that they should be aware of if they do Lagree?
Well, so remember, I'm not prenatal, postnatal certified. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an OBGYN. All right. So what I learned, what I understand from talking to doctors, right, about pregnancy, is you have to keep your heart rate low. You can't, if you've never done Lagree and now you're pregnant and you want to try Lagree, it might not be the best time. Doctors forbid basically any women to try something new while they're pregnant, right? So if you were doing Lagree before, you're fine. If you were not, you might want to wait or just get the clearance from your doctor about this, right? But what's so great about Lagree is there's so many ways of adapting a move. So, for example, I know that women cannot do any exercise laying on the stomach or laying on the back after a while, during the pregnancy, during the terms. So they can do things on the side. So there's a lot of exercise you can do on the side, on the Megaformer, on the Mini Pro, or whatever. And there's a lot of exercise for your posture. So it's actually very good, because some women will put on a lot of weight, and that way can really challenge your posture. So in Lagree, you're going to learn how to just strengthen your posture and basically have, I would not say an effortless pregnancy, but it's going to make things a lot easier. And then the women have done Lagree, they've all told me that the labor was very short, and then they all got back into shape within a couple of weeks. But another thing is also heart rate. I think you don't want to go above 140 or 130 or 140 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel like my heart rate ever really goes above that, though, with most of Lagree workouts. Yeah.
Oh, you can get your heart rate high.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't check. I wear an Oura ring, so it doesn't do a great job of tracking workouts. But
the thing is, just for me, I think keeping an eye on the heart rate is good. But when I work out, I never wear any of that stuff.
Yeah.
My son comes in here and he's got all his gadgets, all his watch. Every month he has a different watch because he's trying something new, right? And I just like to feel it. It's just like, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like about to just like, I'll keep it like this. Like, okay, that was unusually high for this one. But I go by feeling. I don't count calories. I don't all those counting days. I mean, when I was in my 20s in bodybuilding, I mean, I had like literally journals. I was writing everything down, calculating all the calories, taking care, keeping track of the vitamins, all that stuff. I'm like, fuck this now. I'm just going to work out and eat balance, and then that's it. And yeah, I mean, I've put on a bit of weight too because, well, I've been traveling, but I'm not obsessed like I used to be about it.
It's more balanced.
Yeah,
of course. Okay. How many different states did you say that Lagree locations are?
Oh my God, we are in. We got to be in about 40 states, I think, maybe more than that, but not all the states. There's still some states we're not in. And of course, there's certain areas that get more degrees than other. Like in LA, for example, I don't know, it's like 50 or 60 locations.
Sure. Okay.
And
then there's even some nationwide too. I know I've looked before when I'm traveling.
Oh yeah. So pretty much like on the West Coast, and then on the East Coast, it's crawling, but it's kind of opening wherever.
Sure.
The Middle East has been a great market right now in France. We're just opening studios right and left in France. France is going through like an explosion right now. I have no idea what's going on in France. So Europe is also, taking the lead with that. We have some studios in Asia, like in Japan, South Korea, Thailand, China, Philippines, and stuff, some areas. But it's growing faster in some areas of the globe than others. But overall, it's going pretty fast.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And for someone that might be in one of those 10 states or so that there isn't any studios, how can they still do Lagree?
Yeah, you can buy a machine. You can go on LagreeFitness.com, and then they can go on the shop, and then they can buy the machines. And we have a platform called LagreeOD.com. Mm-hmm. And then there you can actually take workouts. There's like about 1,500 workouts already posted, and exercises, tutorials. LagreeOD.com is a good website. If you love Lagree, it's a good website to subscribe to because it's turning into basically my Bible for Lagree. So this is where you can learn everything about Lagree without being certified. And we're posting every exercise. Like for example, right now, I've pledged all the subscribers that I'm going to post over 1,000 exercises for the micro, over 1,000 exercises for the mini and the mini pro, over 1,000 exercises for the mega, and so on, because I really want to show people how incredibly complex and sophisticated the method is. I have my own gym over here, and then you have the Mega Former, and the Mega Former does more exercises than every other piece of equipment I have combined, because the leg press I have only does one thing.
Yeah.
The lat pull down I have only does one thing. The overhead shoulder press, it only does one thing. It's a big fucking machine to do that one movement, right? But in Lagree, the Mega Former or the Micro or the Mini will offer more movement than every other machines combined. So when you're looking at doing a method of fitness that's going to keep you entertained, for decades, Lagree, and also the fact that I keep changing and evolving the machine constantly, the new lineup of machine that is coming out is absolutely fantastic. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. I have a micro at home, so.
Well, we have the new Micro Pro coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we're going to have the Micro X.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that'll be the digital?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what we're doing is we're gonna switch all the machines. You're going to have the Micro Pro, Mini Pro, Mega Pro, and then you also have Micro X, Mini X, Mega X. And the X line is going to be the electronic line.
I see.
So the Tempo Light, for example, we'll have them on the Micro X. So the Micro X will be like a Micro Pro with the electronics.
Yeah, and the ability for you to change the spring load too, right, electronically?
Yes,
yeah.
So that will be on the Mini X and the Mega X.
Got it.
Mini X and Mega X, we will add the feature, because I don't know on the Micro, I think the machine might be too small for us to add the electronic spring change.
Got it, okay.
But if I can make it happen, I will make it happen for the Micro X as well.
I'm sure you will.
So, well, because, a lot of people like that machine because it's so compact.
Yeah, it stores so easily. And
right?
It's
you
great.
can travel with it. It's just like, and there's so much you can do with that machine.
Yeah.
I love to do these micro events.
Yeah, I think they can be harder too. The micro worker can sometimes be harder.
Yes.
So.
Well, it can be harder on the micro because the weight of the carriage is so light. It's about 15 pounds. So you're forced to stabilize a lot more. When you are on the Mega Former, the weight of the carriage is about 62, 65 pounds, depending on the machine. And because of that, it's like you have power steering. So it actually helps you some exercise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not as responsive moving back and forth.
Sure.
So you don't have to stabilize as much.
Yeah, and that stability really makes the workout a lot harder.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sebastian. It was so great hearing
You're
all
welcome.
about this.
All done.
I really
all right.
appreciate it.